So the president did, as you know, test positive. We just got that information from Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary. Within the last 5 minutes or so, President Biden was scheduled today to be traveling to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania for an event. Clearly, he's not going to be able to make that trip as a function of this new test. We are reaching out as we speak to the First Lady's office as well, trying to get any better detail on whether, in fact, she may have tested positive as well. Obviously, President Biden at 79 years old, there has been a lot of concern about his health and safety over the course of his presidency, the oldest president ever to take office. And significantly, this is a president who folks have paid close attention to his health over the course of his time in office. He repeatedly coughs often when he begins. The doctor in his last physical communicated that was a form of reflux that he had been dealing with, but it often had us asking questions about whether he had tested positive or not. The testing cadence, we were told, had been routine, although the White House had never said specifically how often President Biden had tested. Here you see pictures from just yesterday when he was in Massachusetts delivering remarks. At the time, it was unclear whether or not there was anything wrong with his health. He appeared to be just fine, as best one could tell. I traveled aboard Air Force One with him just last week as we were in Israel, the West Bank, and in Saudi Arabia. And the president, like all of those traveling with him, were required to undergo testing on a routine basis to make sure that they were well. But again, obviously, this is significant breaking news. This is a 79-year-old president who right now is dealing with what are described as mild symptoms, but obviously there is great concern about his health and safety at this time. Honestly, Yasmin, at this moment, we're trying to get a better sense of understanding about how this will impact the next several days for this president. But clearly, he's going to be in isolation, even if he can work from a distance from AIDS over the course of the next 5+ days, we imagine.
Well, and I'm wondering, Peter, and you may not have this information, but how long do we know the president is actually going to be in isolation? Because in certain instances, right, there are folks that test positive for COVID, and after 5 days of isolation, they're allowed to go back to their lives and not necessarily even having to retest and or test negative in order to resume life. Do we know at all how long the president is going to be isolating for?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't. We have asked that very question right now. I do think they're going to follow all the CDC protocols on this, obviously, so the president can lead by example. Even to this point, we've seen him wearing a mask often when he meets inside with individuals. He was wearing masks at times during the course of his travel over the last week. So I think they're going to do everything they can to be as careful about his health here, obviously. But to be totally sincere, this is breaking news to us, and we're going to try to get a better understanding. We're certainly pushing the White House for more details about how this will impact their plans. But again, to be clear, this announcement that President Biden has tested positive for COVID was made just this morning. The test happening just this morning as well. Now, about 2.5 years into this pandemic, for the first time, President Biden is tested positive.